Hello ladies and gentlemen and movie lovers of all kind, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I am your host, Brett Murphy, and for today's video, it is going to be another Cinema Showdown versus video. And it is going to be Morbius versus Venom. So yes, although I know I am a little late to the party on this one because Morbius did release way back at the beginning of this month, life just happens sometimes, you know? Certain things in my personal life, as well as new movies coming out and new videos being made, just had this one pushed back more and more and further into the future. And as of right now, we're just sort of in this space where we're all kind of waiting for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness to release. And just as a heads up, I will be comparing the movies Morbius and Venom, not just the characters. And as always with these Cinema Showdown videos, I will be comparing these two movies, in this case, across 5 rounds to determine one winner. Before I hop into the actual showdown itself, I just wanted to let you all know that I have an entire playlist dedicated to all of my Cinema Showdown versus videos, so be sure to check that out, and I guarantee you'll find something you like. And so, without further ado, let's hop right into things. Round 1. Main characters. Morbius gives us Jared Leto as Dr. Michael Morbius, a man who has had a very rare terminal blood disease since birth, who has been desperately trying to find a cure before his time is up. What could have been a very interesting and sympathetic character ends up being a very dull lead, thanks to Leto absolutely phoning it in a script that doesn't help him very much either. Alongside him on this morbid journey is his assistant, Dr. Martine Bancroft, the man who helped raise him, Dr. Emil Nicholas, as well as agents Simon Stroud and Agent No First Name Rodriguez. Venom, of course, stars the always charming Tom Hardy as disgraced journalist Eddie Brock. An alien symbiote known as Venom attaches itself and bonds with Eddie, and his personality is just as big, if not even bigger. The two of them together make a hilarious and endlessly entertaining duo. Joining them is Eddie's ex-fiancée, Anne, and her new man, Dr. Dan. If you were to play the numbers game, then yes, Morbius does technically have a few more players in the game on paper. But no, that is absolutely not the game that we play on this channel. It is very much so quality over quantity. And in this case, Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock alone gives a better performance than everyone in Morbius combined. Then you throw in Venom as his own character and Anne too, and it becomes all too easy. Round 1 is going to go to Venom. Round 2, Villains. Milo, or Lucian, whatever you want to call him, is the villain played by Matt Smith within Morbius. They are childhood friends as they had beds next to one another in the hospital that they stayed at, where they were both treated for the same disease. When Morbius refuses to give Milo the cure because of what it would turn him into, Milo takes it upon himself to steal the cure and inject it behind Morbius's back. And now he's the villain of the movie, I guess, because he uses his power for evil and doesn't really care about drinking human blood. Despite Venom's villain being played by Riz Ahmed, one of the best actors working today in my own humble opinion, I don't think we could have possibly been offered up a more generic and bland villain than this. He is plainly and simply the usual billionaire evil genius who runs mad scientist experiments behind the scenes. And of course, the public just absolutely adores him on the outside. He meets his own symbiote, Riot, just in time for a goopy, CGI-filled final fight. Though I absolutely do think that both of these actors are immensely talented, Riz Ahmed was given absolutely nothing to work with at all in Venom. Generic lines, a basic plan, and then he just turns into a CGI monster at the end. Meanwhile, Matt Smith as Milo is likely the most entertaining part of Morbius. Once he becomes a vampire thing himself, the dude just has fun for the rest of the movie. He hams it up, goofs off, and is just very clearly having a good time. So I will be giving this second round to Morbius. Round 3. Plot/storytelling. I've pretty much already inadvertently explained the entire plot of Morbius while discussing its main characters. But yeah, it basically starts off with Dr. Michael Morbius trying to find a cure to his terminal disease, accidentally turns himself into a half-vampire thing who needs blood in order to survive, or he'll just revert back and die from his disease. He tries to drink artificial blood that he himself created, but he knows that it won't always be sustainable. He refuses to bring this cure or curse on his own best friend. His friend takes the cure anyway, becomes the villain of the movie, and then the two have a CGI-filled final fight, and that's literally the entire plot of Morbius. Venom, at the very least, put forth a little extra effort. Eddie Brock was once a highly praised journalist, until a botched interview with Carlton Drake, played by Riz Ahmed, tanked his entire career, and subsequently his personal life as well. He decides to go off on his own and investigate Drake a little bit further and stumbles upon some mad science experiments using aliens. And then of course, one of these aliens, known as Venom, attaches itself to and bonds with Eddie. The two of them form an unlikely bond and become anti-heroes of sorts. Now they must reluctantly work together in order to try and stop Drake, who has now bonded with his own alien symbiote and plans to bring forth a full-scale invasion of Earth. Now, I really don't think that either one of these movies has a very original plot or even remotely interesting storytelling. However, I do have to pick a winner for each round, and I at the very least think that Venom had a bit more going on and was trying the tiniest bit harder. It added in a bit more personal conflict, and then you also have the whole alien invasion thing. So it looks like I'll also be giving this round to Venom. Round 4. Action/entertainment value. Morbius has some mildly entertaining action sequences. They do use a fair bit of slow-mo, there are plenty of blood sound effects, but no real blood to be shown at all, and the action is at least fairly frequent. The final fight is a blur of weird and cheesy VFX, but at least his powers are kind of cool, and I like the character design when the CGI is actually looking half decent. Venom has much more frequent action, and it actually looks decent the majority of the time. Well, aside from the final fight in this movie as well, which just ends up being an over-the-top CGI-filled battle between two silly putties. It's like when you splash two things together from opposite sides on repeat and then put it in slow-mo. Thankfully, the sequence with the SWAT team, the sequence where Eddie is first tracked down and has to go on the run, as well as a few other sequences here and there are actually pretty entertaining. Venom's design is fantastic, and the character actually feels truly badass and powerful once again after the debacle that was Spider-Man 3 a decade earlier. Both of these movies, again, really struggled in this department. But for the most part, Morbius in its entirety is a soulless, boring drag. Its first action sequence is actually alright, the one with all the mercenaries that they showed in the trailer. But pretty much everything else is just trash. Venom, on the other hand, kept me entertained the whole way through despite some of its glaring issues plot-wise. Most of the action looks pretty good and I love Venom's design. So it looks like this round 2 will be going to Venom. Final round. Direction and memorability. Morbius was directed by Daniel Espinosa, who previously directed some pretty good movies like Life and Safe House. However, things didn't turn out quite as well for this one. In the build-up to the movie's release, Espinosa kept saying that he wanted to make a comic book movie that he would have loved as a kid. But after the movie's release, he's now said that there is a lot of self-hatred there for how the movie turned out. Morbius is currently on track to only make somewhere around $175 million at the worldwide box office across its entire run, making it a massive certified flop. And it has been absolutely blasted by critics and audiences alike. In my own personal opinion, this movie was just unbelievably forgettable. Just the most generic and boring comic book flick you could possibly think of, with basic writing and completely unremarkable everything else. Venom, on the other hand, was directed by Ruben Fleischer, the man best known for directing the 2 Zombieland movies. Though I don't think he really brought anything new or special to the table, as this is a pretty generic comic book movie too, there are still some pretty exciting sequences and a lot of comedy that worked really well. Even though this movie did go over just as poorly with critics, surprisingly, most audiences really took to it, and the movie movie made over $850 million at the worldwide box office. And as of right now, it already has one sequel that has been released, Venom Let There Be Carnage from 2021, and just recently had a third movie greenlit. Though I still don't think Venom is really anything special either, there is no denying that there is just a lot more fun to be had. I do believe that the direction was better from Ruben Fleischer, and I mean when you look at it, even right from the get-go, Venom is a far more well-known, beloved, and bankable character than Morbius ever was or ever will be. Therefore, I'm going to be giving this fifth and final round and the crown to Venom. So that is all for today's video, folks. Be sure to let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with my winner. While you're at it, feel free to let me know who you would have chosen to win each round and what Cinema Showdown you'd like to see me do next. If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button, and if you'd like to see more content, consider subscribing to my channel and ringing that little bell icon, that way you can be notified about all of my latest uploads. And as always, stay safe, thank you so much for watching, and that's a wrap. Hey you, yeah you, if you made it this far, just know I appreciate you, and while you're here, consider hitting that subscribe button.